Global warming sceptics in the UK have gathered to mark what they've dubbed Climate Fool's Day. Well, on this date, actually 2 years ago, snow fell in London as the British Parliament was debating a bill to tackle global warming. It was the first such early snowfall for over 80 years, and activists claimed the ironic coincidence was just more proof that the bill is a waste of billions of taxpayers' pounds. Well, one of those doubting the reality of climate change is Reverend Philip Foster, who joins me now live from London. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, supporters of climate change theory say there is hard evidence taken from perma ice showing a sudden rise in CO2 levels in the last century, thus proving climate change. So how do you see it all?
The answer is that there's not a particularly dramatic rise in CO2, and anyway, carbon dioxide does not affect the climate. I think that's a fundamental statement. That is the misconnection that the climate warmists or alarmists have made. So
are you saying there's no connection then? CO2 obviously caused by man, by industry. So you're doubting the fact that there has been a climate change as a result of mankind's actions?
Yes, there is climate change, of course, but that is a natural thing. But no, it isn't due to man's actions. Anyway, man's amount of carbon dioxide represents a tiny proportion of the shift anyway, about 4%.
But when we look at the statistics, I'm sitting here in Moscow. We've just seen the hottest summer on record here in Russia. It was an extraordinary summer, never seen before. Before that, we had one of the coldest winters in Europe in centuries. Most people would say, well, I'm not a genius. There clearly is something going wrong. And if it's happened since records began, bearing in mind the Industrial Revolution and all the industry and the pollution that's being caused now, surely there must be a connection.
I don't see why there should be. As a matter of fact, I think 132 or so years ago, very similar conditions prevailed. Both droughts and heat in Russia and also monster monsoons in Pakistan, though I'm not the expert on that. A colleague of mine called Piers Corbyn is. So no, weather extreme events always take place, always have and always will. To blame them on human emissions is simply pointless, because there is no real connection.
So how come governments and businesses are taking climate change very seriously? We're all being encouraged to change our lifestyles. They wouldn't be doing it for nothing, surely.
Well, there are all sorts of reasons why governments want to do things. Not all of them are very intelligent. One of the reasons they want to do it is to raise taxes. The carbon taxes that they intend to put on businesses, which will begin, I think, this next year, are ways of raising revenue, and of course revenue is a problem. So then the consensus, so-called, science does not work by consensus. Science works on skeptical looking at the evidence, and I'm afraid they don't do that.
Your argument is quite persuasive, but not many people, well, I shouldn't say not many, but there are many who simply don't support your theories. They say that you're wildly wrong, you're not taken seriously. So are you not getting your message across rightly? Because some people, quite frankly, say you're nutters. There is something going wrong, and you are getting it wrong.
It's, I'm afraid it is rather a war of words like that. We were actually... the list of things we were talked about, we were called dinosaurs, we've been called Kabbalists, which was a nice one, and flat earthers, which is another nice one. All three nice little insults which I've chalked up. Intriguingly, the only basis that the alarmists have are their computer models, which are actually, ironically, flat earth models. They are circular disks, they're not spheres, on which they play around with modelling climate. Most unsuccessfully, incidentally. So I'm not sure who the flat earthers are. As to we are a sort of a small group in a corner doing this, it's very difficult to get the opposite position out into the media. We're very grateful that Russia TV at least gives us an airing. We can't do that with our own national television here in London. The BBC just pays no attention. But then their pensions are paid by green industries, as it turns out. So they have a reason in their case for not letting skeptics speak.
All right, well, Reverend Philip Foster, enjoying Climate Fool's Day there in London. We really appreciate your time here. We did indeed. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Yes, climate change skeptic and author joining us there in London. Thank you.